In her previous life, my sister achieved her dream of marrying into a wealthy family. However, her rich husband was often absent, and unable to cope with loneliness. She had an affair that was eventually caught on camera. She contracted HIV and ended up being thrown out with nothing. As for me, I married a 3-time Best Actor. After our wedding, he loved me deeply, and we became the entertainment industry's iconic couple. My sister, driven by jealousy, killed me, leading us both to reincarnate on the very day we were meant to choose our partners. This time, she was quicker. She informed our father of her decision to marry the actor before I could. I couldn't help but laugh. Despite living a life filled with wealth and receiving substantial monthly allowances, my sister had never seemed content. Our father wanted both of us to marry for family alliances. My sister sneered at a photo of Evander before picking up Cassis's picture. She playfully pouted at our father and declared, "Daddy, I want to marry him." Then, in a mockingly sweet tone, she shoved Evander's photo into my hands and said, "Sister, you can have this richest man in the capital. You deserve someone so great. No need to thank me. This is what a good sister does." But my mother frowned and interjected, "No, Dahlia. Evander is the partner your father and I chose for you. He made the Forbes list at such a young age, and only you are suitable for him. Our Mary family and the Evander family have been friends for generations. When your grandmother was alive, she arranged this engagement." My mother had always encouraged my sister to bond with Evander since childhood to deepen their connection. Dahlia whispered something to our mother, who looked surprised and asked, "Are you certain?" Dahlia blinked her tear-filled eyes, snuggled closer to her and pleaded, "Mommy, you love me the most. Please let me do this. Cassis is a 3-time Best Actor. He's not a bad choice either. I just want to have some fun in the entertainment industry." My mother, unable to resist her charm, exchanged a glance with my father before relenting. My sister shot me a smug, taunting look and whispered, "Enjoy this impotent husband." Hearing her words and noticing how her choice diverged from her past lives, I realized she, too, had been reborn. My mother turned to me, who had remained silent, and coldly declared, "Mary, you'll marry Evander. Since you're getting this advantage as the older sister, you need to compensate your younger sibling." Without concern for my feelings, she decided, "Transfer 5% of your company shares to your sister." My father, patting Dahlia's head, added, "And I'll gift you that skyscraper in the city centre. I won't let my precious daughter suffer in the Cassis family." With that, they finalised the marriage alliances between the Evander and Cassis families. I sneered inwardly. I only had 5% of the shares, gifted by my grandfather. Meanwhile, my parents had given Dahlia 10% when she came of age, leaving me with nothing else. Now they wanted to take even that from me. Despite their lifelong favouritism toward my sister, their blatant partiality still made my heart sink. They believed the older sister should always give way to the younger one. However, I no longer let their bias affect me. Evander was generous. His dowry included 7% of the Evander Group's shares, worth far more than what my parents had taken. He also provided his wife with unlimited spending on a black card and a monthly allowance of $1 million. This time, Dahlia eagerly chose Cassis, handing Evander to me. I laughed at her decision. How could she dislike such a life, rarely seeing her husband but having endless wealth? She wanted to trade her happiness for mine, and I couldn't have been more satisfied. After meeting Evander, we promptly got our marriage certificate. That very night, I packed my belongings and moved into his penthouse atop a CBD skyscraper. Draped in a silk nightgown, I leaned against the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching him expertly tie a Windsor knot with his well-defined hands. He was leaving for an overseas project that night and didn't know when he'd return. We tacitly avoided discussing wedding plans. With a composed and refined demeanour, he met my gaze and softly said, "Mary, I'm sorry I can't stay with you on our wedding night." He placed a black card on the bar and added, "Use this freely. It's linked to my main account. I'll return to accompany you as soon as I can, all right?" I looked at his strikingly handsome face, letting my gaze travel over his broad shoulders, slim waist, and long legs. Despite his inadequacies in certain areas, he was still pleasant to admire. I licked my lips and replied softly, "All right, husband. I'll wait for you at home. Good luck with your project." He paused briefly before nodding and swiftly leaving with his luggage. Watching him depart, I smiled widely. Half a month later, Dahlia married Cassis on a small island. The event was attended by business moguls invited by our parents and entertainment industry stars invited by Cassis. After the ceremony, I found the banquet too noisy and sought a quiet corner. Dahlia soon followed, flushed with excitement. She linked her arm with mine and cooed sweetly, "Sister, are you happy in your married life?" "Oh, I forgot. Your husband isn't capable. I heard he left you alone on your wedding night to go abroad. As for me, Cassis cherishes and adores me. He says I'm his first love and his passion is so overwhelming I can barely handle it." I glanced toward the corner where Cassis was flirtatiously pinching a young male star's backside, even making suggestive motions. With a half smile, I replied, "Oh, is that so?" Dahlia's ignorance was almost amusing. I looked forward to her reaction when she discovered the truth. In my previous life, I'd learned that Dahlia was a girl driven by desire. Within 6 months of her marriage to Evander, her loneliness led her to an affair with a male model. She was caught in a hotel by someone she knew. I had overheard someone teasing Evander, "How can you stay so calm while being cheated on?" He replied coldly, "I don't care." Dahlia, consumed by her infatuation with the model, eventually returned home and demanded a divorce, yelling, "Evander doesn't even touch me. I want a divorce." Dahlia couldn't stand the thought of staying with a man she considered unworthy, crying out, "I can't keep living like this, he's not a real man." Her overly indulgent parents, for the first time, put their foot down, refusing to give in to her unreasonable demands. This marked the complete breakdown of her marriage to Evander. She acted recklessly, using Evander's money to support her young lover, even being caught red-handed by Evander in their own home. By then, Cassis and I had already become one of the most famous couples in the entertainment world. Cassis went out of his way to show his devotion, keeping meticulous records of my preferences on Weibo and being photographed buying sanitary pads for me late at night. He even travelled to a nearby city at dawn just to stand in line for my favourite soup dumplings. When I confided my fear of pain and reluctance to have children, he openly declared that he had undergone sterilisation, saying he wouldn't let anything harm me. Whenever people discussed love and ideal relationships in the entertainment industry, we were the first couple that came to mind. During the Lunar New Year, my parents invited Cassis and me back for a family dinner. Dahlia sat in a corner, her eyes filled with bitterness and envy. By then, she had already made headlines for her infidelity and had been diagnosed with HIV. Evander had finally agreed to divorce her, leaving her penniless and forcing her to make a public apology. My parents, unwilling to ruin their relationship with the Evander family, insisted that I take responsibility for Dahlia's actions. That's when I realized the rare dinner invitation wasn't for me. It was all about protecting her. "Mary," my mother said, "you and Dahlia look so alike. Tell Evander that you were the one caught cheating and that it's you who has HIV. As the elder sister, you should make sacrifices for your sibling. You and Cassis are now the entertainment industry's golden couple. He wouldn't dare to hold it against you." I couldn't help but laugh at their absurdity, but Dahlia's jealousy ultimately led to her killing me in my past life. Her words haunted me. "Mary, how dare you live a better life than me? Go and die." In this new life, Dahlia foolishly believed marrying Cassis would bring her happiness and the perfect life. She had no idea that Cassis and his family were like predators who consumed anyone in their path. Using Evander's unmatched legal team, I returned to the Mary family with a strategic plan. Through a mix of threats and negotiations, I got my father to agree to give me $30 million before transferring the 5% of my shares to Dahlia. With that money, I quickly established a foundation. This time, I was determined to achieve what I couldn't in my past life, helping the less fortunate and ensuring their futures weren't destroyed by parasites like my family. However, I needed Evander's signature for a large sum. When I contacted him, he didn't ask any questions. Instead, he simply said, "Mary, the project is nearly done. I'll be home soon." I was momentarily surprised that he felt the need to update me on his whereabouts, but brushed it off without overthinking. After setting up the foundation, I reached out to Grace through a third party. She was Casis's adopted sister and a key figure in his life. With Dahlia leveraging Casis's entertainment industry connections and the Mary family's investments, she landed a leading role in a top-tier fantasy drama series and officially debuted. Curious, I watched a few episodes in my free time and was surprised by her acting talent. She had accidentally discovered her true calling. With subtle guidance, Dahlia's rising popularity triggered widespread speculation among fans about her background. This quickly became a trending topic on social media. The Mary Group's official Weibo account amplified the buzz with a post, "Mary Group 5, Dahlia, the jewel of our chairman's family." Mary Group V's chairwoman says thank you to everyone for supporting her precious treasure. Retweet and comment for a chance to win prizes. The campaign offered substantial rewards, including cash prizes, product gift packs, and the latest smartphones, sparking a frenzy in the comments section. "Wow, Dahlia is gorgeous and talented, a princess from a wealthy family. She's a beautiful, sweet-voiced rich girl, so lucky. Not only is she stunning and kind, but her family background is so powerful. She's winning at life." Meanwhile, a major variety show, Celebrity Couples Daily, announced its latest guest pairing, Dahlia and Cassis. Unexpectedly, Dalia showed up at my house with the production crew to film an episode without notifying me in advance. Early that morning, I received her call, groggy from staying up late the previous night. Her syrupy voice grated on my nerves. "Sister," she cooed, "my husband and I will visit you soon. You know I've been filming a variety show, right? I just want to bring the whole country's audience along to see if your husband has been treating you well." Her intentions were crystal clear. She wanted to flaunt her supposedly blissful marriage and contrast it with my seemingly lonely life. Before I could respond, a deep, sultry voice spoke behind me. The man lying beside me wrapped an arm around my waist, gently massaging my aching back. "Who's calling so early?" he murmured lazily. Dahlia paused, clearly caught off guard, and then said meaningfully, "Sister, it seems you can't resist." I smirked. Did she think I had a secret lover? Meanwhile, the cool touch of his fingers brushed against my lips, sending a shiver down my spine. My thoughts blurred, and I forgot I was still on the phone. The man chuckled, taking the phone from my hand and ending the call. He kissed me softly, his heated breath like waves enveloping me. The night before, after a few glasses of wine in the bathtub, I'd accidentally slipped and fallen. Evander had opened the door, scooped me up, and carried me. Looking at his sharp, handsome face, I thought I was dreaming. Without thinking, I wrapped my arms around his neck and kissed him. Under the warm cascade of the shower, his intense gaze and forceful movements left me speechless, my mind blank except for one thought. Is Evander really this amazing? I had just gotten myself ready when Dahlia and the production crew burst into my home today. Without hesitation, she began a live stream, and the number of viewers quickly surged to nearly 30 million, with an endless stream of comments scrolling by. Living in a penthouse in the CBD? Wow, I've seen a lot. But who is this wealthy man W? Is Dahlia married to the rumoured richest man in the capital? I hope he's not some old geezer. Babe, your sister truly shines like a diamond. The production team didn't even acknowledge me before setting up their equipment all around the house. I frowned as Dahlia slowly approached and nodded at me. "Sister, is your husband home? Would it be okay if I gave the fans a tour of your house?" She smiled sweetly at the camera, showing no sign of waiting for my permission. Holding a GoPro, she began exploring every corner upstairs and downstairs, clearly hoping to catch me in an awkward situation in front of her massive audience. Leaning against the marble table, I sipped warm water to soothe my throat while watching her antics. I couldn't help but curl my lips into a sarcastic smirk. Her efforts were destined to fail. My cheating lover, Evander, was downstairs picking up takeout for me and would be back shortly. Finding nothing incriminating, Dahlia eventually came back downstairs looking annoyed. Soon after, Cases arrived with his male assistant, whose slightly swollen lips made me instinctively avert my gaze in discomfort. This assistant had been with Cases for ages. When Dahlia saw Cases, her face lit up, and she darted into his arms with a playful giggle. "Honey, you're here," she said, nestled in his embrace. Not missing the chance to flaunt, she shot me a smug look. "Sister, your house feels so quiet. It's perfect timing for us to bring some life to it. Oh, wait, your husband isn't home, right? I was hoping to see him. He hasn't been around since you got married, has he?" She quickly covered her mouth, stuck out her tongue at the camera in mock apology, and added, "Oops, sorry, sister, did I say something wrong?" "Don't be mad at me." Cases chuckled indulgently, lightly tapping her forehead before leaning in to whisper something. Standing on her toes, Dahlia shyly exchanged a passionate kiss with him, drawing gasps from the crew who eagerly zoomed in with their cameras. The live stream chat exploded with activity as I rolled my eyes and checked the time. The property's security team was taking forever to arrive. Blushing slightly, Dahlia suddenly linked her arm with mine in a show of false concern. I pulled my hand back, but she leaned closer, pointing at a mark on my neck. Pretending curiosity, she whispered, "Sister, is that a hickey? But your husband isn't home, so—" Her voice was soft, as if sharing a secret, but her microphone ensured everyone heard her words. The camera zoomed in on me, amplifying my discomfort. I wasn't accustomed to such scrutiny and didn't like being exposed like this. With a frown, I stepped forward and pushed the camera away. The photographer hadn't expected my strength, and the equipment crashed to the ground. I let out a cold laugh. "If you've incurred any losses, feel free to contact my lawyer for compensation." The comment section went into a frenzy. "Wow, scandalous. The marks are so obvious. She's totally cheating. The rich really live messy lives. She couldn't get satisfaction from an old man, so now she's chasing younger guys." Dahlia's love life, though, is such a dream. She's insatiable. No man can satisfy her. Dahlia gasped dramatically, her expression turning mocking. "Sister, I pity your husband for marrying you. If he doesn't want to touch you, that doesn't mean you should go and cheat. The Evander family would never accept a daughter-in-law like you." I fixed her with a cold stare. "Do you think I'm like you? Spreading baseless rumors?" Leaning in close, I whispered in her ear, "Not everyone is like you, incapable of living without a man. Wake up, Dahlia. Cases isn't what he seems. Be careful or you'll end up with nothing." My words struck a nerve, and Dahlia's fake gentleness disappeared. She raised her hand to hit me, but before she could, someone grabbed her wrist and shoved her aside. It was Evander. "Dahlia, are you sick?" he said, his voice icy. She froze, stunned. "Evander, why is he back? Wasn't he with Mary when I called her? This doesn't make sense." She stammered. "Evander, you're just in time. Mireille cheated. Kick her out with nothing." Cases stepped forward, holding Dahlia protectively and murmuring reassurances. I felt slightly uneasy as Evander's aristocratic aura contrasted sharply with the casual takeout bag of spicy skewers he was holding. Setting the food down on the table, his sharp gaze turned to Dahlia. "If my wife isn't with me, who else would she be with? I just went downstairs to grab her food, and you're here spreading rumors and bullying her. Who gave you the nerve?" His glare then shifted to Cases. "Today I've seen the so-called family education of the Cases family. Get Dahlia out of my house. Now." Moments later, social media was abuzz with trending topics like Dahlia's two-faced nature and Evander and Mirai's undeniable chemistry. Case's expression darkened, his eyes cold as he led a visibly shaken Dahlia away. Finally, the property manager and security arrived, sweating nervously as they tried to evict the production crew. "Dahlia brought us in. She's family. Do we need permission?" the crew protested. Losing patience, I smashed the remaining cameras to the ground. "Chingmong Studio, you trespassed into my home, violated my rights, and damaged my reputation. Expect a letter from my husband's legal team. Now, get out. I've already called the police." The crowd dispersed instantly. Taking a deep breath, I turned to see Evander leaning casually against the wall, his dark eyes fixed on me with amusement. "Wife, he teased, making me blush. Feigning annoyance, I retorted, "What's it to you? After all, you're the one who cleaned me out, so I can't even borrow your legal team." He chuckled. "Of course you can, it's my honor." Scooping me into his arms, he said, "I'll have the housekeeper clean this up. You look tired. Let's rest." Struggling, I protested, "Wait, my spicy skewers?" His mischievous smile deepened as he pinched my waist. "Are you sure you're not tired?" My energy drained as he carried me to the bed. Settling me down, he focused on his phone, ignoring my puzzled gaze. His demeanor left me questioning everything: his sudden return, his coldness toward Dahlia, and his protective actions. Exhausted, I drifted into sleep, my thoughts swirling. I couldn't resist asking him, "Evander, if you were to marry Dahlia?" He frowned and gently tapped my head, cutting me off mid-sentence. "She's too naive," he replied. Meanwhile, Dahlia's scandals were swiftly erased, leaving no trace online, proof that the internet forgets quickly. Cases had gone as far as naming a minor asteroid after her and renting a $1 million billboard for a night to declare his love. Their daily life was constantly shared on Weibo, including Dahlia's habits during her time in the studio. Cases often visited her on set, and soon the narrative shifted. The public began shipping the perfect couple of Dahlia and Cases. Dahlia didn't miss the opportunity to call and boast, "Mary, I'm pregnant. What did you mean earlier when you said that? Are you jealous that Ali loves me now in this life?" "Ha! You're just bitter. For my sake, Ali has been restraining himself, even sleeping in a separate room. Mia, does Evander even care about you anymore? I wonder how he feels now that his projects are being taken over by others. Did you hear? The Cases family and the Murr family just collaborated to acquire a plot of land the Evander Group has wanted for years." Tired of her arrogance, I ended the call abruptly. Her ignorance was astounding. Even with knowledge from her past life guiding her to reveal Evander's strategies to the Cases family, it wasn't enough. It takes more than just knowing the direction to achieve success. Besides, I had already advised Evander to be careful. As for Cases, I couldn't help but laugh coldly. I retrieved a recording from a private investigator showing Cases passionately kissing a popular young celebrity and anonymously sent it to Dahlia. "You think he loves you? You're nothing more than one of his many playthings." In my previous life, after marrying Cases, I could smell different perfumes on him every time he tried to get close to me. Disgusted, I always pushed him away. Eventually, he dropped the act and began openly cycling through young models as girlfriends. I moved into a separate apartment, never taking the arranged marriage seriously until I uncovered the full extent of his depravity. Cases even hosted swinger parties, indulged in partner-swapping games, and secretly fathered a child with an ex-boyfriend abroad. Appalled, I confronted him with evidence and filed for divorce, successfully taking a substantial portion of his assets. But Cases was shameless. He had installed hidden cameras throughout our home and blackmailed me with intimate photos, threatening to expose them unless I maintained the facade of a happy marriage. For a time, I had no choice but to comply while secretly gathering evidence to bring him down. Cases later went to the hospital under the pretense of a vasectomy, claiming it was for me, though all his displays of love were shallow replacements. When I was finally on the brink of revenge, Dahlia unexpectedly ended my life. I never thought Cases might genuinely have feelings for her in this life, or that she was simply too clingy. I hired an investigator to tail him, but for a long time there was no sign of illegal activity until Dahlia became pregnant. Grace and I had been exchanging anonymous emails and eventually met at a private club. On that scorching summer day, she was covered head to toe in long sleeves and pants, with only a few patches of skin visible marked with bruises. Worried I might upset her, I avoided staring, but she didn't seem to mind. Calmly, she began recounting recent developments in the Cases family. She revealed that Dahlia had caught Cases in a compromising position with his male assistant. Grace handed me a USB drive and said softly, "This contains what you need, along with a video. Please use it to help those girls. I've heard Evander's legal team is unbeatable, and this evidence should be enough to destroy the Cases family. Don't worry, I've taken care to protect everyone's privacy, but I can't stay long. James won't let me out of his sight. Shocked, I looked at her. Despite my repeated warnings in our emails, Grace had ended up with James, Casey's brother. Grace, you and James? Her expression was complex as she curled her lips slightly. He belittled me, took over my life, and limited my freedom. I've waited too long for this moment, so nothing else matters anymore. When I first met Grace, she'd been abandoned on a highway after an argument with James. I brought her home, and whenever she needed a place to stay, she'd come to my apartment. I never pried. I simply offered her companionship over drinks. Eventually, I learned that although she was raised by the Case's family, James had forced her into a secret, twisted relationship. He both hated and loved her obsessively. When Grace tried to escape, James punished her by dragging her to a swinger party, intending to terrify her into submission. He became enraged when Grace nearly lost herself and dragged her away, leaving another man half dead. Grace had secretly recorded that horrific scene, hoping to use it as leverage against James. The footage also implicated numerous influential figures, including Cases. Seeing it again in this life, I knew Grace had endured the same fate. Half a month later, Grace sent me a message with the time and location of another party. I didn't expect Cases to stoop so low. He had coerced Dahlia with explicit photos and taken her to the event, where a high-profile guest had developed a disturbing preference for pregnant women. By the time the police arrived, Dahlia was covered in blood and severely injured. She grabbed a fork from the dining table and stabbed Cases repeatedly in the abdomen, screaming, "Go to hell, you liar!" before being restrained by officers. Fearing delays, I handed over all the evidence and the list of victims to the authorities. With solid proof and Evander's legal backing, the Cases family's assets were seized, and both Cases and James were sentenced to life in prison. Several other prominent figures fell as well. When the official announcement surfaced, the public was stunned. Headlines declared, "The Cases brothers exposed. Tax evasion, partner swapping, and exploitation of men and women." Cases, who was known for his double life, had fathered a child with his ex-boyfriend while fooling fans with his reality show, which was merely a bride selection scheme. At the same time, the Milan Foundation launched a full-scale campaign. This organization, co-founded by Mir and Evander, was created to offer hope to women in despair, providing a sanctuary for those facing impossible situations. In my past life, I had seen too many women and minor celebrities blackmailed with intimate photos. Many suffered in silence, while others bravely spoke out, only to face humiliation and unfiltered exposure by heartless media outlets. Tragically, some even took their own lives to prove their innocence. The foundation now stood as a beacon of courage, offering support when all seemed lost. As news of its impact spread, one person commented, "My sister is fighting a divorce case against a powerful man, and the foundation's help has been a lifeline." She had no money and couldn't afford a competent attorney, but the Mulan Foundation stepped in to assist her. They even provided an excellent lawyer, and my sister ended up with half of that scumbag's assets. She also gained custody of her son. Watching the Foundation's introductory video almost brought me to tears. It's heartwarming to know there are such organizations for women in need. They even offer free legal advice. My mother requires $980,000 for a medical procedure. After I submitted the necessary documents, the foundation reached out to me almost immediately, and their interest rates were exceptionally low. I am incredibly grateful to the Mulan Foundation. Their stance is clear and firm. If any media outlet dares to publish photos of victims, they will take action. Their legal team has never lost a case. The Cases family declared bankruptcy, and the authorities quickly seized their related businesses to cover outstanding debts. A massive project worth billions that they were working on with the Mir family was also cancelled. The Mir Group suddenly faced a financial crisis. To avoid bankruptcy, my parents had to sell a substantial amount of their assets and stocks. Even then, the company was reduced to a minimal scale. While Evander and I were on a vacation at sea, my parents tried to contact me relentlessly. When I didn't respond, they used new numbers to send a flood of messages. "Mir, answer your phone! How can you be so heartless? The company is in serious trouble and you're ignoring it. Get in touch with Evander immediately. He's the only one who can save us. Your sister sacrificed him for you, and this is how you repay her." They always tried to take the moral high ground, blaming me for their failures. But their company's poor choices weren't my responsibility. I had even warned Dahlia, but she couldn't understand. Honestly, I was waiting for them to sell their company cheaply. By now, I had already acquired most of their shares and assets at a bargain price. Frustrated, I blocked their number and turned off my phone. Evander leaned over with a soft chuckle, intertwining his fingers with mine. "Mir, you're distracted," he murmured. Our movements synced as my breathing grew heavy and my voice cracked unevenly. After some time, my phone lit up again, but I ignored it. My parents had apparently seen some news and used another number to message me. "You spent hundreds of millions on a cruise ship but refused to help your family." Evander and I had been offline for 2 or 3 days during our trip, so I hadn't realized I'd become the top trending topic. The headline read, "Evie spends billions to spoil his wife." For my birthday, Evander had purchased a luxurious cruise ship worth hundreds of millions as a gift. Dahlia was furious when she saw the news. Why? Why has my life been like this for 2 lifetimes? Why can't I find happiness? This isn't fair. Evander didn't treat me like this in my past life, and cases didn't treat Mir like this either. It has to be Mir's fault. Her heart consumed by jealousy and rage, she convinced herself I was the reason for all her misfortune. Dahlia paid an exorbitant fee to a marketing company, hiring them to manipulate my videos and create fake nude photos. She even forged a hospital report claiming I had HIV. However, media outlets and marketing firms were now terrified of Evander's legal team. The moment they received Dahlia's requests, they immediately alerted his lawyers. When the police arrived, Dahlia was sitting in front of her computer, laughing maniacally at the edited footage of me. "Mir, enjoy the gift I've prepared for you? Ha 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 ha! You made me suffer in my last life. Now it's your turn. Evander won't want you like this. Why should you be happier than me? You'll always be beneath me." After her rant, she hugged her belly, switching between crying and laughing hysterically. The police took her in for a psychiatric evaluation, and she was eventually admitted to a mental hospital. Overwhelmed, my parents had no choice but to sell the rest of their company shares to cover Dahlia's treatment expenses. After taking over the company, I restructured its investment strategies and secured a series of major projects. Not long after, the company went public, and I renamed it the Mulan Group. Meanwhile, my parents worked tirelessly in a factory during the day, tightening screws and sold goods at night to make ends meet. They also cared for Dahlia, who frequently threatened to end her own life. They were hospitalized multiple times due to heart problems, but their struggles no longer concerned me. I hadn't thought about them in a long time. Evander, on the other hand, was becoming more affectionate. For our first wedding anniversary, we held a small, intimate ceremony, attended only by his family and close friends. Afterward, he brought me to the beach with his guitar. Under the stars, just the two of us, he sat on the sand and played a song. And it was destined by Liang Hanin, but he had altered the lyrics slightly. There was a girl I used to visit as a child. She would sit and count ants, always looking sad. I wanted to talk to her, but she seemed to avoid me. Still, her faint smile tied us together. My eyes would always wander to her without realizing it. For 10 years I thought this silent admiration would never change. Then she agreed to marry me, and it seemed like she liked me, even just a little. Tears filled my eyes as I leaned down and kissed him. "Not just a little, Evander. I love you. Thank you for waiting for me all these years." At that moment, I remembered a conversation I had overheard between Evander and a friend in my past life. One phrase stood out. "It doesn't matter." I realized then that without me, he wouldn't have cared at all. We are like mountain sparrows, meant to circle valleys, pass through mist and clouds, and descend into muddy rivers. Let us support each other as we continue this journey together.